today, my YouTube Live. We're talking about Grace and Gavel. Today we're talking about we have the scene, but not the moment. So today we are talking about, in some cases, we have everything. We have DNA, we have witnesses, we have photographs, we have theories, we have all sorts of things that we need, except the moment that explains it. Do you think most disappearances are random or not? So, for instance, Patricia Meehan. Patricia Meehan got into a head-on collision and ended up walking away from the crash. There were witnesses there, but she just disappeared. No one knows where she went. She's not been seen since. And that is extremely disturbing because all of those people saw her walk away. But to this day, she's not been seen. She's not been heard from. She walked out of her car. The car was found. There was a crash. There was an environment of other people that saw what had occurred. We have the scene, but it doesn't tell a story. We don't have the moment. For instance, Maura Murray in New England, around New England and New Hampshire, right? There's a missing timeline, a timeline that gives no information whatsoever, right? An unexplained gap. She ends up, of course, she's a student at West Point. She had misused a credit card and was ultimately facing an honor code violation from West Point, which could have potentially gotten her removed. Welcome, guys. My name is Buffy. Today we are talking about we have the scene, but not the moment. In some cases, we have everything. We have DNA. We have lots of witnesses. We may have photographs. We may have the vehicle. We may have all of those things. We have everything we need, except the moment that explains it. And anyone think that most disappearances are random or not? Feel free to weigh in if you like. So for instance, with Patricia Meehan, I did actually a video on this on my Grace and Gavel channel. We essentially talked about how she got into a head-on collision and then there were witnesses there and she seemingly just walked away. The witnesses saw her walk away. Unfortunately, she has not been seen since. So the issue is, was she picked up? Did she have somewhere to go? Was she disoriented and potentially had a head injury, which caused her to walk away and not realize what she was doing? Was she afraid of potentially getting a criminal charge or worried about her license status or any number of things that could have potentially impacted her had she been under the influence of something? Unfortunately, these are things that we do not know still to this day, right? Her car was found. It had been involved in a crash. And the environment was Wyoming. So we have the scene, but it doesn't tell the story. And ultimately, these are extremely frustrating cases because they can't be essentially reconstructed, right? Because we don't have Patricia. We don't know what happened to Patricia. From the moment she walked away, that was it. And all these people saw her walk away. And all these people have different viewpoints of it, but no one knows where she went. No one. Was she picked up? Was she disoriented and ended up? I think a lot about the Shannon Gilbert case, which was related to the Gilgo Beach killer. And I think about Shannon and how she was like really paranoid after the incident where she had been dropped off. And she said people were trying to kill her. So you don't know if there was some sort of head injury there. And that potentially played a part into what was going on with Patricia. We just don't have the answer there, right? And so there's the missing timeline. There's the unexplained gap. There's so much that they don't know. And this case has been unsolved for many, many years, which is frustrating. And if you are a person that likes unsolved crimes, I do as well. But I really, really like the fact that when it's solved, when it's fixed, when we know what happened to this person, not just for me, because I'm just a viewer, I'm not related to Patricia and anything like that. I have no part in it, but their families, like how agonizing would that be to have a family member who is struggling? Welcome, Adeli. Hello, Bobby. My name is well. How was your day? Doing well? Welcome. So we are talking about Patricia Meehan. And hi, Ivanowa. Welcome. Hey, how you doing? You doing well? Welcome. So today we're talking about Patricia Meehan. And if you know Patricia Meehan, the case, she actually was in Wyoming, I believe, and she had actually got into a head-on collision and got out of her car and walked away and has not been seen since. There were witnesses there, but we don't have the moment. We don't have where she went. We don't have why she left the scene of her car, why she left her car, why she decided to go on foot. Was she afraid of criminal retribution potentially? Was she potentially under the influence of something? Was she disoriented from the crash? Maybe she hit her head on the windshield. There's so many things that we don't know. We don't have the moment. We don't have a lot of evidence, even though there were a lot of witnesses. And if you see my podcast, you know I've done Maura Murray and Brianna Maitland, which are very similar cases because they involve a car and they involve strange circumstances that don't add up. And we don't have the moment that they disappeared. But Brianna Maitland and Maura Murray seem very closely related, given the fact that they were in New England, around New Hampshire. And both of them were in a car, and somewhere along the line, they disappeared. And the issue is with Maura had a lot of things going on, if you remember. She was looking at an honor code violation. She was looking at troubles with her boyfriend. She was worried about her sister, I believe, who had potentially relapsed or something along those lines. She had written a letter to her boyfriend about everything that was wrong with the relationship. She was facing an honor code violation for misuse of a credit card. She had gone to West Point. She was intelligent. She was athletic. She had everything going for her, but she was also under a lot of stress. So she had actually wrecked, I think, her dad's car prior. And then in this scenario where she disappeared, she had wrecked a car again, snowy, icy, all that stuff. And she had a bus driver who had offered to help her. She said that she had made a roadside assistance call and should be there shortly. However, there was no cell service available in that area because it was that rural. And then you go to Brianna Maitland. Brianna Maitland, very similar as Maura, in the same location, but her vehicle had actually been backed into an abandoned building. Again, but the difference with Brianna was 17 years old. She was living on her own. She had been beat up by a friend that she had, and there was potentially a ancillary, maybe drug connection, I think some people were saying, in the investigation. And so they don't think that she was necessarily like a huge part of it, but they think that maybe some people that she knew may have harmed her, thinking that she had more information than what she actually had. And so again, with her, why did these women, and I'm not judging them, why did these women leave their vehicle that was safe and that would have kept them safe if they had stayed in it? And why would she have backed her vehicle into an abandoned building? Or did someone do it for her? I think that those are very real questions, very real possibilities that we have to look at. The other thing that I think about is that certain serial killers can disarm people based on their appearance, based on their politeness, based on just how they carry themselves. And it's potentially possible that both girls got into a car with someone and then realized, too late that this person wasn't capable of being trusted. Or also, because there are no footprints for Brianna. Her trail literally goes cold. And with Maura, same thing. 1 minute she's there, the next minute she's gone. No footprints, nothing leading to where she might be in the snow or elsewise. The other thing that's also really concerning about Maura is the fact that there was a rag put in her tailpipe, which seems like something that could potentially be used to potentially like follow her down the road or something of that sort. Exactly. And I think that it's just extremely sad that there has been so much time that has been lost. I mean, she's been gone since what, 2003, 2004? And so I just think about these women who literally, are struggling. And she had also withdrew money from her account. She had went and got some liquor, not that that's, whatever. And she was in not a good place. So my hope is that at some point, Brianna and Maura, we will figure out what happened. DNA is moving at an alarming rate. I mean, look at the guy from California. I mean, they ended up finding him, and all he did was he shoplifted one time, and then they got his DNA based on extrapolating it from a relative. So, I mean, we are moving forward at a lightning speed. And my hope is that the family will get closure that they need and that they deserve. Excuse me. So something happened here, and we all know it. We just don't know what. And the what and the why and all of that have to be frustrating every single day to live that not knowing. The family deserves an answer. The family deserves to know what happened to their relative. And so when the scene is found later, let's go into this. Aaron Foster and Jeremy Bechdel were actually found, or they actually went missing in 2000. And so they both were friends, and they were in, I believe, Missouri. And the focus on this case is they were found, but it was a huge delay in finding them. They were found some 22 years later. Right? For years, there was no scene at all. No one knew what happened. They assumed maybe they had been murdered. They assumed some other thing. But there was delayed discovery and an emotional impact because their car had literally went into a body of water where they were submerged for 22 plus years, I believe. And so from that point, there was no scene whatsoever until there was. And you think about that, the emotional impact of knowing what happened to your family after all that time has to be difficult, has to be rough, right? And it definitely would be alarming to think that they were in that water, because you would start thinking and letting your mind run away with itself because of what had occurred. And the hardest cases are the ones with no evidence, right? They're the ones where the evidence doesn't explain anything. But in this one, they know that it was likely like an incident with it being dark and all the other things. So it wasn't necessarily foul play, but it wasn't like a favorable situation for anyone, especially someone who was related to them, And so ultimately, it can be extremely difficult and hard to deal with knowing what happened to your relative and not knowing. And I think that both of them are both difficult to handle and to deal with. And so ultimately, it's like the family is going to then have to grieve the loss of their loved ones. But at least they have some semblance of closure. But it's really not closure in the way that they wanted. They likely would have much rather had their family there with them rather than having to know that car drug out and everything out of the river or whatever body of water it was. And so ultimately, not only is this emotional, is this sad, but it does kind of give them an ability to bring their loved one home, and not try to block out some of the negative of the scene and of the scenario where it's at. And ultimately, it just goes to show that, ultimately we never know what's going to happen. And true crime can be extremely gut-wrenching sometimes, and can be extremely difficult to navigate and to be able to listen to some of the stories, because they're ultimately not usually a happy ending. So thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I just want to say, if you got some value in this, feel free to like and subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you. It means a lot to me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.